All right, so we're just gonna go over some quick deadlift tutorials, some cues that I like to use with patients and clients in the clinic. One thing first that I do wanna say is that when you deadlift, your back, you should not have back pain later on that day or the next day. That is a 100% no-no. Is your back on when you deadlift? Sure, 100%, it's on, but your posterior chain, your glutes, your hamstrings, your legs are what's doing the lift. Your back is just on holding the kettlebell or the weight, the dumbbell, whatever it may be, as you go through this lift. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start in the setup first. So go ahead and put the kettlebell on the ground. So just some setup things. The one thing that a lot of people do, so notice how Rosh set it up. Right here, it's right on his balls of his feet. A lot of times when people are learning to deadlift, they'll start with it way out in front. What that does with the starting position is he has to now go forward in order to lift up the kettlebell, and he has to use his back to do that. So we're gonna start with the feet on top of the kettlebell. I think that's the most important thing. Think about getting on top of the kettlebell, and that's also why I like to teach a deadlift first with the kettlebell versus something like a barbell, which we'll explain later. It allows you to be on top of the weight. So that's one. You can even, say if people are having a hard time with the setup, you can even have them literally aim for their heels to really force them to hinge over and get their chest down. That's one thing. Second thing, in the starting position, if you had a shirt logo, you want to be able to then kind of, as best you can, and granted it depends on your mobility, to look up. So the logo, that's how he got into his position, and he was able to then engage everything in his posterior chain, engage everything in his legs, and then he'll initiate his lift, driving through the floor. So on the way up, while it is a quote-unquote deadlift, meaning it implies that we're lifting something with our backs or our legs, whatever it may be, I want you to think of it as a push instead. So if your feet are on the ground, you're thinking of pushing your feet into the ground, and that in and of itself will happen to have the kettlebell lift up. So it's a push. Think of like leg pressing into the ground. So I always like to say destroy the ground with your feet, drive through your heels, destroy the ground, and push up, not lift up. Also in the setup position, you could rest if you want to. This foot position, you can tell people to build tension before they even lift. So instead of just going there and being like, oh, I'm just gonna lift this kettlebell and go, tell them to build tension before they even take the weight off the ground. So if Ross stands over the kettlebell, what he can do with his feet first, so starting from feet, and we'll work our way up, and then we'll go the other way down, he can just try to screw his feet into the ground. So try to screw them both outwards. Just that in and of itself, you should feel like everything in your posterior chain, especially your glutes, are just working. So when you're standing here, you're literally trying to screw, without your foot actually turning, you're trying to turn that foot, and you're gonna feel everything kind of go out, and you're gonna be in this nice little tripod position too with your knees, instead of being lax through here. So that is your strong base position. If we happen to be using a kettlebell, there's other cues we can use on a barbell as well, but you wanna try to break the handles. So same thing that we did with our legs, you're gonna try to break our handles. That's gonna get our lats activated, our low back activated, our core activated, and Arash is in a really nice position. He feels like he's working hard in here before he's even lifting. Yes, this kettlebell is what, 36 pounds? But in this position, if you tighten everything up and you get set, you should be feeling like you're about to lift like the heaviest weight you possibly can, because just that set in and of itself should make you feel like you're strong. So once you get that set, then you can begin, again, the push, not necessarily the lift per se. Backing up a little bit, before even teaching this, yes, you can do a lot of those drills where you teach someone how to hip hinge with the dowel. I think we've gone over a lot of those videos like that. The person should know how to bridge first on the ground, know how to do some sort of horizontal hip extension movement. That way you can cue those things in here. So the lockout position at the top. Sometimes people, everything looks good on this first pull, and they get to here, and it's the lockout that maybe they go into excessive lumbar extension, and they're just not using their glutes to do it. So you need to teach someone how to go through on a bridge on the ground first, and feel what it feels like to actually go through hip extension and not lumbar extension. Again, a bridge is a great way to do that on the ground. So that's more the lockout position. And again, we'll kind of go over real quick differences between hex bar, kettlebell. So kind of what we talked about on the kettlebell. It's really nice in a hex bar is that if you look at where these handles are, this is where the center of mass is for this hex bar. Arash can get right over it, and he can align the middle of his foot. So scoot forward a little bit more. You can stand on the side of them, and you can tell where their weight is based on where this sucker is. So say, for example, they're going down and they're out in front. They're going to be using their back a lot more than most people aren't going to be over there. Most people are going to be way out in front, and it just feels awkward if you push it out in front. Then on a barbell, the barbell, it is going to start way out in front of you, but then it's eventually going to work its way up and back over the midfoot. And again, if you had weights on, it would actually be starting right over here over the balls of the foot, okay, not on the toes. And that actually allows you to provide that leverage that allows you to get up. So go for it. So again, no right or wrong between the differences on these. Just I have found it's a lot easier to teach someone with the kettlebell first. It allows them to get that tension. You can also get tension through your lats too with the barbell. And it allows you to stand over the weight while you're learning how to do a hip hinge without overusing your back.